Welcome to the DeFi standard. This is Patty XRP, and we got
Mickey B. Fresh.
And as many of you may have seen, the announcement of Songbird Network going through a soft launch has commenced, and the network is now up and running and will be in observation mode until the 27th. And the caveat with that is, nothing bad happens to the network during that time period. This also means that the network's going to be more centralized right now until they exit the observation mode, where all the validators will take control of the ecosystem like they do in any other federated Byzantine agreement blockchain. And so with that, this means leading up to the 27th, you'll be able to start seeing your tokens in your wallets where you were doing your claim at from the airdrop. All the Songbird tokens are already delivered. There's just certain types of nodes that need to start being run by developers in the community that do that. We'll be running a node at the DeFi standard. So I'm working on getting that set up right now. And those allow the wallets to interact with the blockchain so they can display your assets and that kind of stuff. So, just be patient with that. That's all coming online right now, and people are working on it. And also with that, this means that we're going to see next week the Bifrost Wallet official application launch, and you'll be able to either import your seed phrase over there. You can also send your tokens over there if you're going to do it that way, if you're looking to use the Bifrost wallet. And additionally, I have seen a lot of talk coming out of Flare in their Telegram group that it looks like Ledger is going to have a Songbird application, and it looks like that should be coming out next week. So if you have a Ledger Nano, the way that you're going to be able to see your Songbird tokens and interact with them is through them deploying that application, just like you would install one with XRP or Bitcoin or Ethereum. So that's coming as well. And if you're really antsy to look at it, there's ways to connect with MetaMask and do that, but look that up on your own. There's videos online and FAQs on their websites. But aside from that, just know until the 27th, the network can be rolled back by the Flare team. And this was the centralization component I was talking about in the observation mode we're in. And so with that, if some exchange lists the token and it starts trading, and you purchase tokens and the network gets rolled back before that ending date, that means you would lose your money that you invested, and those tokens would go back to the original holder. But that's only if there's a rollback of the network, and that would happen from something breaking. And so something in that regard.
Yeah, so it's important to understand that we're really not going to take full flight here until the 27th. So if you don't see your tokens right away, don't panic. They're coming. They've been distributed. It's just a matter of getting all the whitelisted nodes up throughout this observation period, and trading, and I know many people have asked about that, won't commence until on Bitrue until after September 27th. It might pop up on some of these other smaller, rinky-dink exchanges. It's possible, but be careful. It's in observation mode. So sending anything over the network, I would highly advise against. And it's not financial advice or anything, but they're warning you that this could be rolled back. So sending any tokens, like even if you're able to access them, sending them to another wallet or something would not be advised until after the 27th. Now, what Patty was saying with the Ledger app, that just means you're going to be able to see your tokens there and you'll be able to send them. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to interact directly with the Flare network yet. We got to see what capabilities are in that app there with Ledger. You're probably going to have to use a Web3 wallet like MetaMask, Bifrost, or Decent to actually interact with the FTSO signal providers and the dApps on the network. So keep that in mind, that you'll probably have to move off of Ledger to do that, or connect a MetaMask wallet to it. Now, you're not going to be able to connect the Bifrost or Decent to the actual Ledger Nanos. That's not possible at the moment, according to Bifrost and Decent. Only MetaMask you could do that. So you just have to simply send your tokens. So if you're on an exchange, you might not see them right away popping up. Some exchanges might start showing them, but remember, the 27th here, I think, is an important date. And I think it's, Patty, the way they're doing this and giving us like a little kind of mini roadmap here of how they're rolling things out is good, because it brings clarity to what's going on here. And there was a lot of uncertainty when we were going to get these tokens, when are they going to get airdropped. And now we have a definitive steps of what's going on. Now, what happens after this observation period on the 27th?
Yeah, that's when the network will be handed over to the validators and the other nodes running. And from there, dApps will start being deployed. So we'll see XFi go live. We'll see the Oracle system up and running. You'll be able to start earning via that. So all that stuff will be happening after the 27th, and then they'll start slowly rolling out the state connector system as well as the F asset system on the Songbird network so that they can test that stuff up prior to Flare launch. Once all of that is out and everything's running smoothly, the Flare team will announce the official launch of the Flare network, and we'll kind of get this whole thing going that we've been preparing for a long time. So it's nice that we're going to get to, play around on Songbird and XFi and stuff prior to Flare, but, we can kind of see, the beginning of the next steps forming now. And so with that, we did a full breakdown of XFi, Songbird Network, and also the announcement in 2 videos from yesterday. If you haven't caught those, highly suggest looking or checking those out if you want to get an even more in-depth rundown. But with that, Mickey, let's move into a few exchange announcements. Oh,
just one thing quick that I saw pop up here was that Songbird, Toho Labs announced that you're going to be able to use the MetaMask web extension with the Ledger Live app here. So
that's always been a thing.
It just popped up on their thing. So that's a way if you want to keep your Ledger. So I just know there's many people with the Ledger Nanos, and if you want to stay with that, utilizing it, there's going to be a capability there, but it's only going to be through MetaMask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and now let's move on.
Yeah, so with that, Bitstamp announced today that the Flare Network's airdrop of Songbird tokens to all who participate in the Spark distribution will receive Bitstamp will receive them on your behalf and move them to your account once our tech framework is ready. So you'll have them within the Bitstamp exchange application, whether you get that on mobile or on your PC. You'll be able to access those, and they'll announce when those are officially live, or you'll just see them in your wallet. And then additionally, like Mickey was saying, Bitrue will be the first exchange to list Songbird trading, and that starts on September 27th, which is a Monday. So that's about 10 days from now. And they're saying if you claimed via that exchange, your Songbird will also be distributed on that date, which is the expected time when the Songbird network will be accessible and stable. So that's good to know if you're looking to purchase Songbird at launch, or, if you're looking to sell, you will be able to do that on Bitrue. So that's good to see. And then additionally, iTrust just tweeted out recently that they have some news coming about Flare Networks Tune In Monday. So I don't know if this will include stuff, if they're going to, do the Songbird airdrop, if it has to do with that. Maybe it has to do with how you'll be able to utilize your Spark tokens or something of that nature. But I know iTrust people have kind of been in the dark for a long time. So good to know that you guys are going to finally get some clarity there.
Yeah, I think they'll release the Songbird tokens. That's my speculation on that, because they're receiving them, or their custodian. Remember, iTrust uses a custodian that receives them. So whoever their custodian is, I believe they used Curve and not possibly BitGo, I'm not sure. And then they would distribute those Songbird to you, which will then you have in your accounts there, which will be nice. And those will build up over time, and you get the tax benefits with iTrust. So that is good. The question, like what Patty was saying there, are you going to be able to utilize the benefits and utility of those tokens from your iTrust account? And that's a question we've gotten a lot, and hopefully, and a lot of people have reached out to iTrust trying to do that, to see if they're going to allow people to delegate to the STSO and the FTSO to earn rewards. So hopefully iTrust has been doing some integrations, talking to their custodians to allow for this, because then if they don't, then you lose the benefits of the asset. And remember, these are not stocks. These are actual tokens that have utility on their network. So the one thing with Flare with Spark and Songbird is that their networks are going to have instant utility for the tokens to be able to earn inbuilt yield. Both tokens come with this inbuilt yield feature, which allows you to earn with them. You don't get this with Bitcoin, you don't get this with Ethereum, you don't even get this with regular XRP. So this is a new function. It's different than staking, because there's no risk here to your tokens when you delegate. Now with the state connector system, this is very important. I'm just going to briefly do a quick little overview. It's the trustless actual connection to these other networks. So these other blockchains, there's no changing to their chain ID. There's no trusting middlemen in there like the Poly network hack. It's a totally different design. So this state connector system allows for the signaling back and the verification of the data from those underlying blockchains, and every block closing, they'll be able to signal back all that data, and it's verified by the whole Flare network. So this allows for the F asset system for the trustless issuances of F assets onto Flare. And this is the breakthrough technology here. And this state connector system is going to be deployed right after September 27th, but it won't involve anything to do with XFi. So that could be tested in parallel as XFi and that begins and the FTSO system takes place in a safe manner. The F asset and state connector system are tested. So you don't have to worry about anything going wrong there with XFi. They're kind of separate in that way. And I think that's a good rollout strategy here, how we'll be able to start delegating the signal providers. We'll be able to start using the XFi platform and other dApps that are built on Songbird while the testing begins there for the F assets and state connector system. So I think that's just a very good strategy on the Flare team's part here moving forward.
Awesome. And so with that, we just want to get into some Ripple case updates to end the video. As some people may have seen, Charles Gasparino, who's a reporter for Fox Business, has kind of been picking up this case and starting to report on it. So good to see some MSM outlets kind of getting after it now as well. And he's just been kind of pointing out some of the things that a lot of people do on Twitter in regard to the inconsistencies with the the application of the Howey test to Ethereum versus XRP or versus other cryptos. So in this tweet, he says that Ripple's legal team tells Fox Business they have no plans to settle with SEC enforcement over lawsuit on XRP, confident they can show Gensler and the SEC in pursuing the case as picking winners and losers in the crypto business to the detriment of innovation story developing. And then additionally, Jeremy Hogan commented down here. He said legal teams never say they want to settle. It's a sign of weakness. So yeah, this is definitely a sign of strength from Ripple, at least what they're trying to do. Now, does this mean that they will never settle? No, I don't think it means that. But also, I think it kind of signals it may not be at the forefront right now. And maybe we are moving into a scenario where summary judgment becomes a real thing here in a couple months, Mickey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it well there. And remember, there's different components to this case. So like, for example, the charges against Brad and Chris, Ripple has asked for dismissal on those. The Judge Torres hasn't made a decision yet. But even if that doesn't get dismissed, they could ask for, Brad and Chris's lawyers will ask for summary judgment of those charges. So things could fall here in dominoes in different stages. So it might not just be like an all wrapped up settlement. We could have certain things end, like likely Brad and Chris's charges, which are going to be very and nearly extremely difficult to prove from the SEC that they willingly knew XRP was a digital security and then recklessly sold it. So it's likely that would be probably the first domino to fall, in my opinion. And I am not a lawyer, so this is, we're counting on the community here. And I think Jeremy Hogan, John Deaton and James Finland have done a phenomenal job keeping us updated on this. And I'm going to give a shout out. DAI has, brought mainstream media attention to this story. And I know another thing that just came up was the speech for Hinman. It was uncovered that Andreessen Horowitz, I think Union Square Ventures, and a couple other law firms met with the SEC to put together this working group prior to the Hinman speech. And there was direct language and verbiage in there that is identical to the documents that got out that was supposed to be confidential, supposedly, from these law firms about them basically writing the speech. So those documents that Ripple, requested to be who wrote the speech or who had influence, it obviously came from this. So now it's starting to all get uncovered. So this guy, Charles Gasparino, is following the trail here, and it's getting more media attention. I think it's great because they went under oath. And Hinman said that was my personal speech. But obviously it was not his personal opinion if they had multiple meetings and a whole working group around this, and the media's, from what Charles Gasparino said, when his contact or sources at the SEC quotes said that Ripple hasn't built out the XRP infrastructure the way Ethereum was. And I shook my head at that. And
just the complete opposite, honestly.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
It's literally a bold-faced lie.
It is a bold-faced lie because XRP Ledger's been built out since 2013,
Prior
right?
to them selling any, too.
Prior to them selling any, it was built.
Yeah.
And if you say the decentralization thing came in probably, 2016 to 2018, I guess if you wanted to argue that, it's still been, 4 or 5 years since the network's been sufficiently decentralized. And maybe they use some of those XRP profits to build RippleNet, but RippleNet is not the XRP ledger. The XRP ledger had its own utility. It had a decentralized exchange. It had millions in payment volume going through separate of Ripple for years and years and years. And there's been all these other spend the bits and all these other applications and micro separate from Ripple themselves. So to say Ripple's funding something still, that's not the case. Let's look at Ethereum now. Ethereum funded their sales to build Ethereum network, which is the actual opposite here. So, and now let's look, we're transitioning to ETH 2.0. Did Consensus sell some of their ETH to build, Consensus, which is helping build ETH 2.0? So, I mean, not to pick on Ethereum in that way, but this argument that Charles Gasparino has pulled up from his sources is the opposite of what SEC is trying to argue in court. They went away from that and said, no, we didn't say Ethereum was not a security. We're trying to say that, Ripple sold this to fund their business. They're not saying any of that stuff. They're coming with a totally different argument here. And I find that interesting, Patty. What do you think of that? How, he's coming up with these sources saying this, and it's kind of different what they're arguing in the case, which is still unclear what they're really arguing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, as far as whenever I hear an anonymous source, I always take it with a grain of salt. So I don't know who he's talking to at Ripple or the SEC. I mean, I've seen many, many, many mainstream media reports, articles, things like that that turn out to be completely false that come from anonymous sources. So, maybe it's just whoever he spoke with is not very in tune what's going on. But I mean, the issue really comes down to, the fact that they're saying XRP is a security. I always felt that, maybe there's an argument for certain years or certain types of sales that Ripple did. Maybe those were investment contracts, but certainly those all happened after the XRP ledger was built out. Also, I think the notion of a fully built out blockchain is naive. Like, I mean, these blockchains are going to keep evolving over time. So, to think that any of them would be fully built out at some point to me is just kind of ridiculous, especially with the pace of innovation throughout the world and the changes in tech that we have. These blockchains are going to have to continue to innovate to expand in the future. So, I feel like they're playing semantics at that point. And the XRP ledger was, fully live when, before Vitalik Buterin even had Ethereum as like a twinkle in his eye. You have the story of him sleeping on Stefan Thomas's couch when they were back and discussing Codius, like in the really early days of Ripple. So I just think it's pretty hilarious that they think that that's the fact that they would put that out there. But
yeah, fully built out just sounds like it's up and running. There was XRP being used for reserves, for trust lines. There was issued assets all over the XRP ledger. 2013, 2014, there were payments going through. There were trades going through. There were multiple gateways going through. Like this activity always taking place when the so-called investment contracts are happening. So I think it's even a difficult argument for them to try and prove that those are investment contracts to begin with. So I'm on like the side where I think that the SEC is going to struggle to do those. And now this comes down to disclosures and registration. I still think that's at the heart of what the SEC wants. They want to pull in as much as they can under their regulatory umbrella. And that's what this is all about. It's about their turf, and they want to pull it in. They wanted Ripple to register with them. So anything that they did with their sales would go under the securities regulations, and they could regulate them however they like. They want to expand the Howey. And I think, that's detrimental for innovation because it's trying to sandwich in these new technologies into securities, and they're not. They're going to trade outside. So even if you try to crack down on Coinbase and say they can't lend, people are going to move right to DeFi. The SEC cannot do anything with DeFi. Anyone could build a front end wallet to connect to blockchains or to connect to any of these dApps. And that the SEC is never going to have control over. They might have control over the off-ramp and on-ramp, but the actual tradings of the assets, they could get a couple exchanges under their control, but it looks like, I think, Patty, you think Coinbase is going to fight this?
Yeah, I absolutely think they're going to, based on how they came out with the story and Brian Armstrong releasing like a pretty detailed blog of everything that happened to them. That doesn't seem like something you do if you're just going to bow down. So it seems like they'll be in the same place as Ripple potentially here.
Yeah, I think we're getting close to the end of this case. I mean, we're almost done with discovery, and unfortunately, Patty and I were talking before this recording that, you know, it's unfortunate that discovery got dragged on, else we would have been done with discovery by now. But
Yeah, I
we're
don't
at,
care about sick lawyers.
I know, uh, but we're almost at the end. Like the depositions are going down to Brad and Chris, the in-camera review of the judge of those 13 documents. Remember, they have Grunfest on their payroll, you know, here, Ripple. And they have all that insight from Mary Jo White and the other guy who is the enforcement director. I forget his name. So they have all this insight from the SEC to begin with. And you have like, the SEC is a powerhouse, don't get me wrong, but we got to keep in mind here, there's multiple different law firms defending Ripple, as well as the former SEC chairwoman and enforcement director. So, you know, it's powerhouse versus powerhouse here. And the SEC is the government, but the court's not the government. The court is the judicial system. So they don't have, you know, influence there. They're supposed to be the neutral bystander to interpret the laws. So this is why it's good to be in court, no matter what the US government says or the SEC says. The courts will make this decision now. So we're outside of whatever the SEC says. The court's going to make the determination unless Ripple settles, and then it would come down to, you know, an agreement there. But do we get the clarity from that settlement? Like, would that be enough for all market participants to feel comfortable using XRP? And that's what I would like out of this case, is that not just Ripple gets clarity, but I want the XRP holders to get full clarity by law, and all the market participants, which would be all the exchanges, all the institutions, any hedge funds, they get full clarity. And then all of a sudden, XRP leapfrogs Ethereum and Bitcoin in use. Everyone's going to feel comfortable. Oh, well, XRP's got the full go-ahead, green light, 100%. And now what happens is Ethereum's now not sure, because in this case, they actually said, ETH we never classified as not a security. So what could come out of this case is XRP gets full clarity, and now ETH goes back to uncertainty, even though it's accepted by most of the market that, you know, it's not a security because the Hinman speech, they just put doubt on that. So it's interesting how this is like developing in real time, and this court case could have such influence on the whole crypto markets, but also like at the top between the Ethereums, the XRPs, and Bitcoin. We hear of Ethereum ETFs, Ethereum futures, and all that coming along, and Ethereum's gained massive market share since that Hinman speech. It gave them the free pass, and DAI's right. And this is nothing against Ethereum. It's just facts of what have transpired over the past few years before and after that Hinman speech. You've seen all the development rush there because it had clarity. And that is one of the reasons.
Absolutely. So with that, I think we can wrap it up here, Mickey.
And I just want to throw in there, sorry, that, you know, when I say that about Ethereum, Flare is using an Ethereum virtual machine. So we have to, at the same time here, balance, you know, the biased maybe that, you know, Ethereum got the free pass, but we have to understand the Ethereum standards and its smart contracts are going to be part of Songbird and part of Flare. So there's going to be overlap here, and we do need to understand that Ethereum virtual machine is kind of one of the core components to Flare, and having those developers there, anything can be ported over to Flare. So, you know, Flare has, you know, a utility fork of XRP Ledger, but it probably has more of Ethereum in it than it does XRP Ledger, because it uses the exact same smart contracts, and it's considered an EVM chain. And how Binance got so much development, their smart chain, same thing's going to happen with Flare. So we're kind of, you know, springboarding off of Ethereum smart contracts here with Flare, with just a better consensus and a better interoperability protocols.
Awesome. Well, this is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP.
And I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
And we're out. See y'all.